Hey YouTube, this is Billy Eat World, and today we're taking a look at my top 5 first-person shooters of the 90s. Now just remember, this is my top 5. You might have a different top 5, and by all means let me know what that is in the comments section, but I've put together this list not because they're the games that everyone else thinks are the best first-person shooters of the 90s, but because they're the games that I personally played through my childhood. Now I know there's a few games that aren't in this list that everyone else would probably think are some of the best shooters of the 90s, but at the end of the day, the reason they aren't here is because I didn't play them as much at the time, and maybe some of the other games had a bigger impact on me. Kicking off our list at number 5 is Quake II. Quake II is a futuristic shooter released in 1997 by id Software. Although similar in many ways to its predecessor Quake, in every respect it was a huge improvement and a milestone in first-person shooter development. The game features much better 3D modelling and larger levels, while retaining very fast-paced action, loads of weapons and a lot of different types of enemies to kill. Quake II's multiplayer was very popular at the time, featuring deathmatch, co-op and capture the flag modes. As with Quake I, the game was designed to be easily modded. Many new maps, player models and skins were created and distributed throughout the community. My personal favourite mod was the Eraserbot mod, which allowed multiplayer modes to be played with AI opponents in a similar way that was used in later games like Quake III, Unreal Tournament and Counter-Strike. At number 4 on our list is Wolfenstein 3D, the game which most people would regard as the game which popularised the first-person shooter genre. Released in 1992 by id Software, the game was basic but groundbreaking for its time. Wolfenstein 3D doesn't feature a huge assortment of weapons, its controls are limited and its gameplay is largely repetitive, but it helps cement the format that first-person shooter games would follow for at least the next decade. It was also a breakout game for id Software, who went on to become one of the most important developers of first-person shooters. The game features a number of episodes where the player will need to find keys, collect treasure and mow down countless Nazis until finally defeating the boss at the end of each episode. As well as the PC, the game was ported to various home computer platforms and video game consoles, helping it gain widespread popularity and making it one of the most memorable and recognisable titles in the genre. At number 3 on our list is the game that proved that first-person shooters could work on a console, Goldeneye 007 for the N64. Developed by Rare and released in 1997, Goldeneye featured great single-player missions that followed the plot of the popular James Bond film of the same name. Unlike many FPS games at the time, the player was required to complete different objectives depending on which of the 3 difficulty levels were selected. Goldeneye also featured many mechanics found in modern shooters today, such as zoom aiming, weapon reloading and dual-wielded weapons. The standout feature of Goldeneye was its popular 4-player local multiplayer, with a range of different maps, game types and characters to select. Although the graphics have dated considerably and the controls are clunky by modern comparison, Goldeneye is an important part of FPS history and still a fun and nostalgic game to play today. It's no coincidence that the number 2 slot on our top 5 is yet another title by id Software. Released in 1993, Doom was arguably the most important game in FPS history. Doom took what was great about Wolfenstein 3D and expanded on it in almost every way, featuring much better graphics and controls, heaps more weapons, enemies and collectibles, and more dynamic levels. As well as weapons, the player could also collect armour and a range of other power-ups to help throughout the game. Its head-to-head multiplayer mode coined the term deathmatch, which is still a key part of most multiplayer shooters today. Doom's unprecedented widespread success led to it being ported to many other computer platforms and consoles and spawned dozens of clones. If Wolfenstein 3D popularised the format of the first-person shooter in the 90s, Doom and its sequels perfected it. And to finish off my top 5 first-person shooter games of the 90s, at the top of our list is none other than Duke Nukem 3D. Released by 3D Realms in 1996, Duke 3D was not only a great FPS game, it was a great experience. Rarely in FPS games at the time was so much time spent to develop the main character's personality. Duke 3D was one of the few games to succeed in this, as the arrogant macho protagonist Duke Nukem was brilliantly voiced by John St. John. The game features great level design, great graphics, heaps of weapons and smooth controls. Unlike many previous FPS games, an inventory system was used to select different power-ups for later use. Duke 3D was also one of the first games to feature guns with secondary fire modes. The game was ported to countless systems and will likely also be ported to many systems in the future, as it's still as fun to play today as it ever was. Anyway guys, thanks again for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you do like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, and by all means let me know your top 5 in the comment section below. If you've got any suggestions of games you want me to review in the future, by all means let me know that as well. I'll have a bunch more stuff coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned.